The folder hit the mahogany desk with a crack that made Lena Carter's heart stop. Elyan Drake stood behind it, his jaw clenched, eyes burning with barely contained fury. "You think I wouldn't notice?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Millions missing from my father's estate. And you, a maid who appeared out of nowhere 6 months ago. You think I wouldn't connect the dots?" Lena's hands trembled at her sides, but she kept her chin up. The security cameras in the corners blinked red, recording everything. 2 guards flanked the door. There was no escape from this room, from this moment, from the accusation hanging in the air like a blade. Elyan reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a check. He wrote quickly, decisively, then slid it across the polished wood. $1 million. Take it and disappear. Tonight. I never want to see your face again. Lena stared at the check. 7 zeros. More money than she'd ever imagined holding. Enough to solve every problem in her life. Enough to make her disappear forever, just like he wanted. She looked up, meeting those cold gray eyes for the first time in 6 months. "I don't want your money, Mr. Drake." The surprise that flickered across his face was almost worth everything that was coming. Almost. "Everyone wants money," he said slowly, suspicion replacing some of the anger. "Especially people who steal it. I didn't steal anything from you. Then why won't you take the deal?" He leaned forward, palms flat on the desk. Why would an innocent person refuse $1 million to walk away from a minimum wage job? Because taking his money would mean accepting his story, his version of the truth. Because some debts couldn't be paid in cash. Because she'd waited 23 years for this moment, and she wasn't running now. "You have no idea what you're accusing me of," Lena said quietly. "Then enlighten me." Elyan's smile was razor sharp. "Tell me why a woman with a forged reference, a name that doesn't check out past 2 years ago, and access to my father's private study, decided to work here for pennies." Her stomach dropped. He'd been digging. Of course he had. Men like Elyan Drake didn't get rich by being careless. "I needed a job," she said. "Liar." He came around the desk, moving with the predatory grace of someone who'd never heard the word no. "You needed something. Access maybe. Information. Revenge." The last word hung between them like a confession. Lena's pulse hammered in her throat. "Are you going to have me arrested?" "That depends. Are you going to tell me the truth?" "The truth." Lena almost laughed. "You wouldn't believe the truth if it was written in your father's own handwriting." Something changed in Elyan's expression. His eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" "It means this conversation is over." Lena turned toward the door. "You take one step, and I'll have you in jail by midnight." She stopped. Her back to him, she said, "Then do it. Arrest me. Drag me through court. Let's see what comes out in discovery." The silence stretched so long she could hear her own heartbeat. Then quietly, "Get out." Lena didn't need to be told twice. The next 48 hours, Elyan couldn't stop thinking about her. The defiance in her voice. The sadness in her eyes. The way she'd looked at that check like it was poison. He sat in his father's old study, his study now, staring at the security footage, watching Lena move through the mansion like a ghost. She never touched anything she wasn't supposed to. Never went anywhere suspicious. If she was a thief, she was the most careful one he'd ever seen. "Sir," his head of security appeared in the doorway. "We finished the background check you requested. And Lena Carter doesn't exist before February 2023. But we found something else." He placed a thin file on the desk. "We think her real name is Lena Harris." The name meant nothing to Elyan. He flipped open the file. A photograph. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, standing beside a man in a business suit. They were smiling at a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The caption read, "Michael Harris breaks ground on Harris Tech campus." "Harris Tech," Elyan murmured. Something tugged at his memory. "Why do I know that name?" "Your father acquired the company in 2003. Hostile takeover. The owner, Michael Harris, claimed fraud. Tried to sue. The case was thrown out, and Harris lost everything. His company, his savings, his reputation." Elyan stared at the photo, at the little girl who'd grown into his maid. What happened to him? Suicide. 6 months after the trial ended. The words hit Elyan like a physical blow. He looked at the photo again, really looked. The girl's eyes, even in that happy moment, held shadows. The same shadows he'd seen in Lena's face every day for 6 months. Find her, Elyan said. Now. Sir, she's gone. Cleared out her room this morning. No forwarding address, no. I don't care. Find her. It took 3 days, 2 private investigators, and every resource Elyan had. He found her in an abandoned property on the edge of town. The land was overgrown, the building little more than a skeleton of rusted metal and broken glass. A sign hung crooked on the fence, future site of Harris Tech campus. Lena stood in front of it, hands in the pockets of her worn jacket, staring at something only she could see. Elyan approached slowly. She didn't turn around. You should have just taken the money, he said, and let your family bury the truth again. Now she turned, and her eyes were dry but blazing. That's what you do, isn't it? Throw money at problems until they disappear. What truth? That your father tried to sue mine and lost? That's not a conspiracy, that's business. Business? Lena laughed, but there was no humor in it. Your father forged documents. He bribed officials. He destroyed evidence. My father had proof of all of it, but Drake money made sure no one would listen. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. I spent 6 months in your house looking for proof. For anything that would clear my father's name. And I found it. In your father's safe. The same one where the millions went missing. Elyan's blood ran cold. You stole from my father's safe? I took what belonged to my family. Your father stole my father's life's work, his money, his reputation. He stole my father. Her voice cracked. So yes, I took what was owed. Not for me. For the memorial fund in my father's name. For the scholarship program he always wanted to start. For the truth. My father. Elyan started, then stopped. What could he say? He'd spent his whole life defending a man he'd never really known. Building on a legacy he'd never questioned. Your father destroyed lives, Lena said softly. Mine included. I was 8 years old when I watched them take my dad away in handcuffs for fraud charges your father fabricated. I was 8 when the press camped outside our house, calling him a thief and a liar. And I was 8 years and 7 months old when I found him in the garage. Elyan felt sick. Lena, you wanted the truth? There it is. She held up the flash drive. Everything's on here. The forged contracts. The bribes. The whole ugly story of how Drake Enterprises was really built. I was going to send it to every news outlet in the country. But then I met you. He stepped closer. What does that mean? It means you're not him. Lena's eyes glistened. You're cold and arrogant, and you throw money at everything, but you're not cruel. You actually believe in the company he built. You have no idea what it's really standing on. Show me. The words came out before Elyan could stop them. Show me what's on that drive. Why? So you can destroy it? Protect the Drake name, so I can know the truth. They stood in the shadow of her father's broken dream, rain beginning to fall around them. Lena searched his face for something. Honesty, maybe, or courage, and whatever she saw made her nod slowly. Okay, but not here. They went to her apartment, a tiny studio that probably cost less than his monthly car payment. Lena plugged the flash drive in her laptop, and for the next 2 hours, Elyan's world crumbled. Documents, emails, recorded phone calls. His father's voice, casual and cold, discussing how to forge Michael Harris's signature, how to pay off the judge, how to make sure Harris Tech's patents ended up in Drake hands. When the last file finished playing, Elyan sat in stunned silence. I'm sorry, Lena said quietly. You're sorry? You just proved my entire life is built on a lie. And you're apologizing. I know what it's like to lose a father, even one who hurt you. Elyan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not a thief or a liar, but someone who'd survived impossible grief and still had the capacity for compassion. Someone who'd had every reason to destroy him and chose truth instead. What do you want? He asked. Really want. My father's name cleared. The truth public. And for Harris Tech to be remembered for what it was, a company built by a good man, not absorbed into Drake Enterprises like it never existed. That'll destroy the company. My reputation. Everything. I know. Elyan stood, walked to the window. Rain streaked the glass. Below, the city sparkled with lights. His city, built on his father's empire, his father's lies. "Do it," he said. Lena's reflection appeared beside his in the window. "What?" "Release the files. Tell the truth. All of it." He turned to face her. "But let me help you do it right. Let me stand with you when you do." "Why would you do that?" "Because you're right. Because my father destroyed your family and probably dozens of others. Because I've spent my whole life being cold and ruthless like him, and I'm tired of being that person." He stepped closer. "And because somehow, in 6 months of you cleaning my house and never once looking me in the eye, you made me want to be better." Tears slid down Lena's cheeks. "This will ruin you. Maybe, but doing nothing will destroy me." The truth went public 3 days later. Elyan stood beside Lena at the press conference, facing cameras and questions and the fury of his board. He confirmed everything, apologized for everything, promised to make restitution to every family his father had harmed. The scandal was immediate and devastating. Drake Enterprises' stock plummeted. The board voted to remove Elyan as CEO. Protesters gathered outside the mansion. But something unexpected happened too. Victims came forward. Other families his father had destroyed. And with them came lawyers willing to work pro bono. Journalists who'd been silenced years ago, ready to tell their stories. A movement grew, demanding accountability from corporations built on corruption. Lena's father's name was cleared. Heir was recognized in the business community as the innovative company it had been. A scholarship fund was established. A memorial. Through it all, Elyan and Lena stood together. 6 months after the press conference, they sat on the steps of the old Heir building, being renovated now, funded by Elyan's personal fortune, not Drake money. "Do you regret it?" Lena asked. "Losing everything?" "Yes." Elyan looked at her, at the woman who'd come to his house seeking justice and somehow given him something more precious, a chance at redemption. "I didn't lose everything," he said. "I lost what my father built on lies. What I have now, I build on truth. That's worth more than any empire." Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you." "For what?" "For choosing to be better than him. For proving that people can change." As the sun set over the city, Elyan realized that sometimes the price of truth wasn't just what you lost. It was what you gained. Humanity, honor, hope, and love. If this story moved you, leave a comment about what truth means to you. Hit subscribe to the Story Den TV for more stories about redemption, justice, and the courage it takes to stand for what's right. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose truth over comfort, even when it costs you everything.